What went wrong? When we arrived in Kyrgyzstan, I built my bike up and the hydraulic fluid had dropped from my shifters, so I had no front brake. This is something that must have occurred as an issue in the flight. I don't really know what happened, whether it had come from pressure, I don't know, heat, anything like that. So we went to one bike shop to try and get it fixed, and the mechanic there actually made more damage to it than good. And so Rob kind of hacked it by pushing some pressure into the brake caliper to actually give me the ability to brake. I had brakes for a few days, that was good. We then signed up for the race on Friday. The race was due to start on the Saturday, and when we signed up, we left registration, the bike dropped all the hydraulic fluid over the rotor, completely, meaning I had no front brake at all. We managed to find another bike shop, which they were really, really good, much better. The mechanic there at sort of 9 o'clock at night completely rebled the system and got the brakes working. They weren't 100%, but it was better than no brake, basically. On our third day, I completely lost the ability to brake in my front rotor and my front caliper, and was halfway down the descent with 180 kilometers to go to the next kind of major town. So what we did was Rob filed the cable bosses off the frame, which he had lovingly soldered there when the bike was built, and filing them meant we could actually take the rear brake caliper still attached to the hose and then mount it onto the front brake, meaning that you tend to use the front brake more. It's more easier to control when you're descending than the rear brake, so I could at least brake from the front, and then the old front brake was just basically just hanging on the handlebars, and it slowed us right down. It slowed us down because it meant that I had to be very careful descending. I had to, if there's a concern in the back of our heads of the braking of overheating, and if it did, then I am down to no brakes. So it'd be a case of ride a third of it, walk a third of it, ride a third of it on every single descent. And when you bear in mind some of those descents are 15-20 kilometers long, it's quite a bit of walking. So we eventually, long and short of it, we ended up camping out on one of the climbs, and I was deciding whether or not I should be continuing racing, try and get to checkpoint 1, try and get to the town, scratch now and get the SOS car, what was the plan. And that night I in my head I wanted to get to checkpoint 1. It's about 250 kilometers away. In reality, I kind of accepted the next day that the furthest we were going to get was to the resupply town, which is 180 kilometers. And then the idea was from there to try and work out if we could fix it or solve it in any way, and if we couldn't, then we'd scratch. Unfortunately, we couldn't solve it. So for my own sort of safety, more than anything, I chose to scratch from the race.